What's going on, YouTube? It's LaQuon, the only LaQuon you ever gonna see in this complexion. Like that. This is my daughter Zena, one of my daughters anyway. She's almost 2 years old. She's a bully, as you can see. She's very comfortable like she's supposed to be. Stay. I want her, this is her first time being on the bed. I wash her, every other day, so don't think that I'm nasty or whatever the case may be. And I wash my bedding and whatever. But anyway, we're gonna get moving with the subject of this video. The first time that I went to county jail. So the first time that I went to county jail, I was 17 years old. I had a warrant for my arrest for some like 6 traffic infractions I didn't go to court for. The reason I'm making this video is because I want to deter everybody that hasn't been to jail yet to never go. You're not missing out on nothing. I promise you that. First thing that happened when I went to jail was I got put in a room where I was told to strip butt naked. And it was like a piercing feeling, no pun intended. I was never told by somebody to take your clothes off, and the way they said it was just like, can you pick this up for me? Like, it was like they asked me, excuse me, like just something like simple, like saying, hey, can you pick this up for me? Or, hey, excuse me, hey, take your clothes off. And I knew I had to because I knew what was going on. Like, the whole environment of the county jail, it was a Franklin County Jail in North Carolina. It was like a very meek place, man. It was gray. It was just like a sad place kind of. Anyway, the first thing I did was strip naked. Was told to bend over and squat and cough. Or, get down, squat and cough, whatever the case may be. It was like a very crazy ordeal for me because I had never been through anything like that in my life to where I had to get naked in front of somebody else. Anyway, after that, I got put into a holding cell where I sat for a few hours and, got all the stuff that I needed to get put wherever I was going to be put. They walked me down this long hallway, which just like seemed like it was an eternity to get down. I walked past a bunch of blocks, like Fed blocks and felon blocks and things like that. Like I said, I had traffic infractions, man. So don't think that I went to prison. Don't think that I was in like some crazy pod or anything like that. And I was a juvenile. So I got put in a pod with like minor offenders. I would say a minimum pod, child support. There was a couple Fed guys who was in the pod with us that was like, they had like got moved out of the federal block. I guess they was in danger or they had some stuff going on. Whatever their situation was, it was not up to me to be asking them what they had going on. I didn't care. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't want to make any friends. I didn't care what anybody else had going on. So the door, it seemed like a door for a door for a door for a door. And it's just like the more you go in, the more it feels like your ears are popping, and it was just crazy. So we walked by all these rooms and I see like, it's like a zoo, man. There's people everywhere. And I'm like I started feeling like that big. Now, this doesn't really matter, but when I was 17, I already had this tattoo and my stomach tattoo. I didn't have nothing on my arms. I think this is the only one that I had on my arm, or arms. So the officers walked me into the pod, and in the way back of the pod is like an 8-man cell, and there's like 6 other dudes in there. It was a juvenile cell, and since I was a juvenile, I had to be locked in that cell 24/7. So you could say I was safe, but at the same time, it sucked to not be able to move around. Like, oh my God, man, it sucked so bad. They put me in the cell we only got out to eat or to take a shower. So you eat 3 times a day and you take a shower, I think, once a day or get on the phone. It was up to you what you did with that time after you ate. But like you had like 5 minutes after you ate to, whatever you're gonna do, you better make it happen because they didn't have no time for the juveniles to get hurt by an adult. It would have been like a whole lawsuit type situation. After being in there for probably about a week, I realized that they locked us up back there because the juveniles was the rowdy ones. Like we was rowdy. And we'll get to that. Anyway, I walk in, everybody staring at me, everybody looking at me. I don't look at nobody. I'm just walking behind the officer, keeping my eyes on where he's taking me. They put me in the cell with like 6 other guys. They're all hanging out, chilling. There's some crazy looking white dudes and, a couple black guys. I get to bed on the very end. And it's probably going to sound crazy to you guys, but the first thing that I did was I made my bed, then I laid down and I watched The Simpsons on TV. That was the first thing I did in jail. I laid down on my bed, I kicked my feet up, and I watched The Simpsons. Now, at this point in time in my life, I was homeless because my mother was very strict. My mom was very anal. She didn't have like much patience for me and my BS. I graduated high school a year early because I was always fighting in school to the point where I got expelled from the county that I lived in. I had to go live with my uncle in his county. I went to that school. In the first year, I had got into like 4 or 5 fights. But this was a much smaller school. It wasn't in the hood. It was in the country. A bunch of good kids. My principal, Miss Faulkner, she said, "You're a bad apple and I'm not going to let you influence these kids." They put me on a 21 credit program. She said, "You got this year to graduate. If you don't pass your core classes, then you're out of here. We're done with you." So, I didn't want to disappoint my uncle. I graduated a year early. I made it happen. But at the same time, me graduating a year early, I hit the streets a year early. First thing I did was jump out there. I was already doing my thing, but once you're out of school, it's a totally different deal. I had to hustle, and I mean hustle, to get a Boost mobile phone. I had to hustle to get it turned on. I had to hustle to eat dinner every day. I had to hustle to move around. You know what I mean? Stealing bikes. I walked a lot. I was homeless. So when I got into jail, I was like, I finally got a spot. I hope that you never go through that because I was actually kind of comfortable that night. Man, I slept pretty good. Anyway, the guys that I was in the cell with were kind of loose in the head. They were all rapping little Boosie songs, and you had to watch another guy poop, right in front of you. It was a bunch of beds, and then it was a toilet. That was a cell. So I would take my blanket or my sheet, and I would tie my sheet to the bottom of the toilet, and I would wrap the sheet around me while I was using the bathroom, sitting down, doing number 2, because the cell, it didn't have windows. It had fencing. Like the whole cell was like fencing like this, so everybody could see in. The adults would come and they would talk to us, and some weird guys would be sitting on the other side of the pod. They could be looking at you using the bathroom. I'm not with that, with people watching me use the bathroom and stuff, and you can't stop them from doing it. So what you got to do is just cover yourself up. Some of them guys is weirdos. Even people out here are weirdos. Anyway, moving on. About like 2 hours after I got put in there, we had dinner. I'm not telling y'all to do this, but this is just what I did. I don't know why I did it, but I did it. First thing I did was roll down my jumpsuit, my tattoos. You can see my tattoos. I walk with confidence. I'm not scared. I'm not like a bully, but I walk with confidence. You know what I mean? I ate my food. I took me a shower. Like I said, I was homeless, man. So I got my shower flops, went and took me a good old shower real quick, came back to the cell after I ate, and I laid it down for the night. I was comfortable, man. Unfortunately, I hope you never feel that way. I stayed in there for almost 2 weeks before I got bonded out. uh, it was crazy how I went through phases in those 2 weeks. The first couple days I was quiet and I was like reserved and I sat back. I didn't really talk to nobody, but I listened a lot. A lot of people lie in jail, and they tell lies that it doesn't take too much common sense for you to realize that this person is telling a story. They're not really being honest. The first person that had told a lie was this guy. It was a big black dude with dreads, and he was acting foolish. He was doing cartwheels over the table and singing songs about butterflies and stuff like that. He told us that he was in there because he got caught with a AK-47 and some money. But my uncle was in the pod right next to us. If you were in there for anything serious and it was state charges, you wore black and white stripes. We wore orange jumpsuits, but they wore black and white stripes. They were finna go get some time, you know what I mean? Or they were fighting some time. So knowing that little bit of knowledge, I'm like, bro, there ain't no way in hell you ain't here with us. For I got traffic infractions, he got child support. This person ain't paid. Was obtaining property by false pretenses, and you sitting here talking about an AK-47? You already a convicted felon and a bunch of money? No. Um, I told him straight up. I was like, bro, I don't believe you, bro. Like, I don't really care, but you ain't got to sit here and lie to my face. Now, with that being said, in jail, everybody is bored. So I'm the new guy. All the all the adults, they would come to the fence and talk to the youth. They would talk to us a lot, man. And sometimes we will argue and we will go back and forth with them. And other times we got along really well. Like there was a man in there that he wore red because he had Fed charges, but I think he was working with the state or with the feds, and they put him in our pod. He was actually a minister in a church that was using a hearse to traffic cocaine. I got pretty cool with this guy. He's a big ass black dude with glasses. He looked like very menacing, but he was a minister and he had like glasses and stuff. He was finna go away for a while, but like I said, I think he has something going on with him because they put him in our pod. A lot of people told me, they're like, bruh, I like you, bruh. Like, you smart. You don't just go for anything. And I kind of like was my own person in there, man. Like the guys that was in the cell with me, only one guy I got along with. It was a black dude, and he was always rapping Boosie. Red bandana, red Lexus. Like he was always going in rapping Lil Boosie. He loved Lil Boosie. Me and him was pretty tight. He was finna go do 13 years in Morganton High Rise. Yeah, everybody else, I didn't really jive with them too much, you know what I mean? Like, we was in the cell together and stuff, but, like, some of them dudes stank, and I ain't like that. Like, I want them to go wash their tail, but they was, I don't know if they was scared to go wash up. I don't know if they just didn't feel like they had to wash up. I don't know what the case may be, man, but when you gotta sleep next to a person that smells foul, you're not gonna be happy about it. You're really not. So, like I said, I went through my phases where I was reserved. Then I went through a phase where I was like looking for entertainment all the time. Um, I was talking to people. Like I said, I found out that my uncle was actually in the pod next to me. So it's crazy things that you learn in jail. So the pods were set up, if you would imagine a stop sign, the stop sign is the control booth, and each side was a different pod. Now, the officers can sit in the middle and just spin in the chair and see everybody. They got 100% view of everybody. They taught me how to look off of a glass to see into the next pod. You couldn't look through the glass. You kind of had to look at the glass. You had to do it for a couple minutes, like the first time to get it, because when you're looking at the glass, all you see is the control booth, and they're like above it a little bit, so you can't really just look an officer in the eye. Like, you really can't see them. I think it was like I forgot what it was, but they were not really visible. You know what I mean? You could see like the area, but you couldn't see the officer. So they told me, "Hey, look right there." I'm like, "What?" Like, the guys come to my cell, they're like, "You LaQuon?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm LaQuon. Why, what's up?" They're like, Look right there. Your uncle want to talk to you. Look right there. I'm like, I'm looking, but I'm not seeing nothing. But as I look, it just kind of like opens up and I see, I'm like, oh, damn, there go my uncle. I didn't even realize it was him. He done shaved his head. And my uncle's, he was a white dude, but he was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's one of them white dudes that's bout it. He'll fight anybody. He don't care about none of that white boy stuff. He'll put his hand in your mouth. He don't care who you are. So he sent some soups over to me. He paid for me to get a haircut. He more or less took care of me. It was kind of messed up though, mentally, because when I had went to go get the haircut, he was getting a haircut too. So we got to sit in the middle, where the control booth was. They would cut our hair, and he told me, you know where them people was at when you was riding with me? Go speak to them people when you get out. Go holler at them. You know what I'm saying? You know where I went and you know what I did, so just follow them footsteps and, you know what I'm saying, you're going to get on. But I was like, oh, yeah. But I'm thinking, no. Because you trying to get me to end up where you at. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to follow your footsteps, bruh. You know what I mean? Um, anyway, with one crazy thing that happened when I was in there was we were messing with the adults. Like I said, they was child support dudes, man. Medium, like minimum custody guys, man. I got to a point in time when I was in jail that I was bothering people. After my phase of looking for entertainment, I started bothering people. My mind was going. I was barking at people. If you walk by the cell, I will follow you along the fence. I'll bark at you. When people were asleep, I would say, Bobby, Bobby, like all night long. I would be bothering people. I was bored. We had a female that would come. You know, they got roving guards. You know, I guess they walk through the whole jail. They make their rounds, and like we kind of knew when they were coming. So when they came around, I lay down like I'm asleep. But when they weren't around, it's game time. I'm doing push-ups. I'm bothering people. I remember that was the first time I heard "We Be Steady Mobbing" by Gucci Mane, Lil Wayne. You know what I mean? I used to stay up late working out. I used to bother people. I had time. You know, when I came out, they would be like threatening me, like, when you come out, we gonna see about all that mouth. And I'm like, okay, let's do it then. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't really had nothing else to do. And that's not that I'm tough, it's that I was stupid. I was stupid, man. My mind was going. I was 17 years old and I was just sitting in there, man. I ain't had nothing to do. I started getting kind of fed up. We were bothering the adults, and the adults got tired of us, and I didn't know at the time. I found out afterwards. Them adults went and told the police that we were selling pills from our cell. Some of us was getting mental health pills. Some of the white boys that was in my cell, they had like serious issues. Like they probably like tried to kill their parents type stuff. You know what I'm saying? And they would get medicine. Well, they told the officers that we were selling the pills and we would hide them in our asses. So in front of everybody, the officers stormed our cell, got us all butt naked in front of each other, got us all to put our hands on the wall, spread your cheeks, and they had a flashlight so close to my ass, excuse me, they had a flashlight so close to my rectum that I could feel the heat from the bulb, like on my, you know, it was super uncomfortable. A couple of the guys that was in the cell with me, they wasn't with it, and they fought. Like they resisted the police and got, you know, shipped out to the hole for a few days. One of my the black dude, I don't remember his name, the black dude that I was cool with, he actually read like 2 Harry Potter books in like a matter of days that he was in the hole. It was a crazy experience because after that, I was more chill, you know what I'm saying? Because I kind of learned my lesson that I don't want no attention. But I also was like, you know, they could really do anything that they want to do in here. And it kind of like messed with me when they took them dudes to the hole because, like I said, I never been to jail. So I'm like, where did they take them? Did they kill them? Like, I don't know. The jail's so old and raggedy that it was winter and I could feel cold air from outside coming in the jail through the wall, you know? Um, I got in a phase where I was reading. Right before I got bonded out, um, I had hit this phase where I was reading books. I was kind of like starting to realize that I was going to be in there for a little bit. Now, like I said, I had traffic tickets. I think I had 54 days until my court date. I ain't had no money and I was homeless. So I figured maybe if I just stay in here for the 54 days until my court date, maybe when I go to court, they'll give me time served and cut me loose. And I just thought to myself, like, 54 days, I'm about to go do 54 days, you know, because I don't have no other option. You know what I mean? I was homeless and I was broke. I was trapping to stay, you know, fed. And it was actually harder on the streets than it was in jail. Like in jail, I was straight. My uncle wife had sent me like 20 bucks. I made it last for like a good week. I was writing home to my girlfriend. She would send me a little bit of money. You know what I'm saying? It was actually kind of easier than being homeless. And like I said, I hope that you never go to jail and feel comfortable. Um, so by this time, I'm getting used to like reading. Not reading. I'm getting used to jail a little bit to a point where I'm laying down a lot. I'm not eating breakfast. I'm sleeping through breakfast. And like I said, this is only 2 weeks. So don't get me wrong. I'm not no guy that did 20 years or whatever the case may be. But it does have an effect on your mental. You know what I mean? Especially as a young man. Um, you're not having sex. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you're not having sex. But the first fight that I saw was two old men. I remember, you know, they started fighting at the card table, but they're old men, so it's like, eh, eh, it's actually kind of entertaining to watch, like because I felt like I could beat both of them up, like without no questions, like the way they were moving so slow and they were weak. But I asked Buddy, I said, "Hey man, what was that all about?" They said, "You remember that new dude that just came in?" I was like, "Yeah." He said they fighting over him. What? What? He's like, they fighting over the boy. Right then and there, I had to contain myself. Like in the back of my mind, I'm like, what? Like what the? You know, I wanted him to clarify. Like, what are you talking about, bro? But I knew what he was talking about. I just didn't want to accept it. Like I didn't want to realize that this was going on and it was okay. Nobody was saying nothing about it. I'm like, what in the hell are you talking about, bro? They fighting over that boy. You mean they want him? Like in the back of my brain, I'm just like, yo, I have got to get out of here. This is like a whole nother world. It's not okay. Like the stuff that they be having going on, it is not okay. It is actually very disgusting that the officials of the jails let this stuff go on. I never seen nobody doing nothing and never wanted to, you know what I'm saying? But just for the fact that they were fighting over him, that means something. That means something. You know what I'm saying? It blew my mind, man. It really did blow my mind. But I would say like the latest nights in there was like Friday nights and Saturday nights. They let us stay up late. We watched America's Most Wanted. Um, you know, those were the nights that time just like flew by, you know what I mean? But it was very like boring. It was sad, you know, like it was very gray. You see people on the phone going through it with their people. You know, like they talking on the phone with their people, but they depressed, and it's just a very depressing place. Everybody has somebody who died or somebody who left them, or everybody's kind of sad, and everybody actually like feeds off of that stuff with each other. You can tell when somebody got something going on because their whole mood changes. They go from doing cartwheels, acting up, to, bro, leave me alone, don't talk to me. And when they say it, they only say it one time. You know what I mean? Now, I was blessed that I wasn't put in no felon pod or no federal pod. The felon pod, they fought a lot. From what I heard next door. The federal pod, they shank people a lot. Like them dudes was going to do time. They ain't really do too much fighting. It was a lot of knife play. I never seen none of it, but this is just stuff that the old heads in there that I spoke to talked to me about. It was one old head, he would do push-ups all day long on his knuckles. and he was so old that his mouth was like he didn't have teeth. You know what I mean? The best time of my life was when I laid down to start reading a book. I was about to go to sleep, and I heard that door pop on the pod, and it's always like a, not a sheriff, but like a official kind of, nah, it's like a deputy that comes, but he's not like a normal dude that works in a jail. Like, he's a deputy from like outside. I don't know, but like I say, he just looked more official to me. He would come in and say, Doremus, pack it up. You know, whoever it was that he was coming to get, you know, he would just stick his head in and say, hey, let's go. You know what I mean? You didn't know where you was going. You might have been going to another pod, but Doremus, you're pack it up. Everybody comes to me. Shoom. Hey, you gonna eat them ramen? You gonna give them ramen noodles? Where your toilet paper? You know your honey buns? Blah 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 blah. Everybody wants something. They want they want your soap. They want your toothpaste. They want anything you got. If you could, I don't think I could give my blanket away and my bedding away, but like the little stuff that I had purchased, I left it on the bed. I said, y'all got it, man. I don't got no use for this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And like, it was just crazy how it was only like 2 weeks, but when I walked back out, it seemed like everything had changed. Like, I don't know if it's because I had walked down that hallway and I only seen like this view of things, but when I was coming back out, I didn't remember none of that stuff that I was looking at. I'm like, damn, I don't remember none of this stuff. You know what I mean? But it was the best day of my life when I got bonded out of jail. It was sad because I had to find a place to go. You know, I was actually able to stay with a friend of a friend. You know, I was blessed, but it was also like pressure. I ended up having to try to stay in the hotel with some people who weren't really up to no good. I was around people that wasn't doing good stuff. They were trapping. They were, you know, but that's my first experience in a county jail. I want you guys to know that if you give somebody the right to take your freedom away from you, there's nothing cool about that. If you have to go to jail, you're messing up. There's nothing cool about that. There's nothing cool about somebody telling you when and where and how. There's nothing cool about that. If you know anybody who stays going in and out of jail, there's nothing cool about them. Regardless of what they tell you about jail, don't believe them. There's nothing cool about somebody taking your freedom away from you. You're actually a loser. If you stay going to jail, you are a loser. Because you got to learn that these people have the right to take your freedom. They can kidnap you for doing dumb stuff. And don't get me wrong, it's a lot of people who are locked up that are innocent or whatever, and they got to fight their cases. There's even some people in prison for stuff they didn't do. But the majority of the time, the people are guilty. And you are a loser if you stay going in and out of jail. When I grew up in the hood, the dudes that was coming in and out of jail, it seemed like everybody loved them. Hey, he back, you know, everybody was like hyping them up like that, you know, and it got to the point to where they would come back and wouldn't really be on nothing, and they would just go back to jail and come back and they'd be back popping again. And it's like, there's nothing cool about these people, you guys. So you need to make sure that you're staying away from these people because they're losers. You hear me? They are losers. I went back to jail like a month, probably 3 months later, but that was the last time. And I swore to myself that I would never go back. And since then, I haven't been back. I'm just knocking on wood just for, I ain't got time for it. Make sure that you don't ever have a story about your first time going to jail because there was nothing cool about what I just told you. But it was an experience that I had to have to realize that this freedom is nice. Look at me, watch this, watch this. Just the fact that I can lean this chair back, pet my dog, I got my house, I got my life, I got my freedom. You don't know how it is to have this stuff until it's taken away from you. I hope that you never know how it feels to have your freedom taken away from you. It's LaQuon, the only LaQuon you ever gonna see in this complexion. Peace and love. Stay free. Love yourself. Stay peaceful. I'm out.